Witajcie everyone, and this video that gonna probably last 45 to 60 minutes based on the yesterday recording. I'm gonna walk through my approach to the situation when I need to clean up a lot of holes in scan data. This particular model was provided by Gregory, and he asked me to record a video when I show my approach. So I thought it's gonna be a good occasion to show not only that kind of things, but a couple other elements inside of ZBrush that should be helpful to everybody who starts with that software. And yeah, let's start it. So first of all is the something called Stager, and we can find it under the geometry, if I remember correctly, up here. That function in ZBrush was introduced in 2021, I believe, and it allows us to memorize position, orientation, scale of the subtool, even after we're gonna split it, and then create a new state with different values, and then switch between those two. And it's very important and useful for people into the photogrammetry, because with that we can store the initial stage when we import the model, and then change a couple of things in order to work more fluently in ZBrush. And as you can expect, it's very useful when we re-import the model back to Reality Capture, Meta Shape, that kind of stuff, because those softwares expect to see the imported model to be in the precise position as the source data. In order to make a texture reprojection or even projection, but I'm gonna talk about that slightly later. So right now we have our model directly imported into the ZBrush, and we can see that axis and scale is way off. 17 means 17 meters in ZBrush is still fine, but ZBrush prefers to operate in the two units of the size. So in theory, when the model is 2 meters. And right now we're gonna store our home stage. And first of all, we're gonna rotate our model by 90 degrees. So left is left, right is right, so up, down, more fluent control. Actually, I'm gonna focus just on the one window to make the presentation easier and faster. So for that, I'm gonna rotate the windows in a way to see the front panel. Click Alt and point on the part of the model that move our gizmo into that position. And now we can use the orientation button to reset position of the gizmo, plus move the model as well. So with that, we have the front, that left window in the front of us, so we can focus easily on that. Of course, later we can just make a same situation with a different window, click on it, orientate, and left, right, that kind of stuff. So very useful. And let's see, orientation, I see it slightly off. I use the bottom part of the scene to check how the alignment looks like. And actually it's probably slightly off, but nothing that much. So that should be straight. And then, of course, we need to think about the scale. So I click Unify, which size down the complex, the whole volume of the model into 2 units. And we see it's right here. Still, I don't like the scale. So the orientation, so slightly like this. It doesn't matter that much in that case, but I prefer to have imported stuff right into the straight lines. And now we can click the target stage, and let me zoom out. And as you can see, with one button and we can of course make the shortcut for that. We can jump between those stages. And so after we're finishing with the cleanup of the model, we're gonna click switch stage, export it, and write the caption, for example, gonna be perfectly fine with the position of the important model. Okay, so let's talk about the different way how we can approach the issue with the window. We have plenty holes and a lot of flying geometry. So the first thing would be logically to remove everything that flies everywhere to clean up our canvas from the basically rubbish. Personally, I prefer to split those flying points into the separate subtool just in case, because it's always a sort of some kind of information. So why to remove it when it can just sit on the separate subtool and we can just turn off the visibility, right? To do that, I mean the split flying points, we have two options. One is to use the auto group. By the way, left panel and stop is quite customized by me with the preference config enable customization. But when you start with ZBrush, that panel on the left is not existing, and as you can see, matter of time, you can create the whole machine with separate stages to clean up your stuff, or just work with the ZBrush, or have everything that you need under the one click of the mouse button. So in that case, I'm gonna use we could use the auto groups. Our model is just 1.5 million polygons, which is very, very small in related to photogrammetry. And ZBrush gonna go through that model very quickly in order to create those polygroups. But there's one thing that we need to remember. If the model is way more complex or have a lot of separate small flying points, ZBrush gonna calculate everything in RAM and try to attach a new polygroup to each single of those flying points. So in the situation when we have, for example, 100,000 of separate pieces, it's gonna take not only a lot of time, but probably go through all your RAM on your computer, and yeah, you're gonna be forced to kill the instance, kill ZBrush, or wait who knows how many tens of minutes. So I strongly suggest to avoid using the auto groups as long as you have that kind of situation. And there's other way easier that I use when I work with the scans. So we go to the visibility, and up here we have something. Actually, let's select part of the model that we want to focus on, or even better, we're gonna click double, and that particular button is under the tools, so right side of the panel, display properties and flip. So up here, click double. That button allows ZBrush to turn on visibility of back faces of our polygons, which means that we can see everything at once instead of just a single side. So right now I'm gonna select part of the models from the outside shell and inside, because from the task description I am aware that we not only close holes for the outside part of the model to make it nice, to make it more attractive from the outside point of view, but we have that model from the inside as well. And we need to create close those holes for both sides. So in the situation when those elements are separate by the geometry, we need to select both of them at once. That's very easy with the selection and like this. So there's our inside part of the model and outside. And with the visibility panel, we can see there's a button called Grow All. And the shortcut is Ctrl-Shift-A, and it button tells ZBrush to expand all the polygons that are connected to those that are right now visible. So with that shortcut, we're gonna expand it. On the first glance, you might think it doesn't change anything, but if we invert the selection, we can see there's 72 separate small polygons that were through flying geometry, like this one, or up here, somewhere here. So the function works, and we can delete those polygons because they're basically nothing in terms of the information. So right now we have a knowledge that, okay, we need to make a lot of closing holes process, or we should make a different approach, because obviously when we try to close all those holes, it's gonna take hours, and we need to work smart. And yesterday when I was recording first time, I had idea about adding a plane that gonna just basically cover front and back, and then we remove everything. And the second approach is to use ZModeler brush that allow us to work smart. And I think we're gonna start with that, because then I can just remove the geometry. So when we look at our model, we can see we have two planes. One is for the external part of the window that is covered by grid that protect the stained glass windows from the outside, I don't know, birds, stones, whatever. And we have the second, more part of the plane that is our stained glass window itself, recorded from the inside part of the photogrammetry. So we can use that on our advantage, because we can go to ZModeler. Let's go to the wireframe view and turn on off everything for the polygon mode and edge mode, because we don't need it right now. And for the polygon themselves, we use mask, flat island, and that brush mask everything that is in the range of the angle between polygon that we clicked and the geometry that is around it. So when we have a flat plane like this, and we hold and push out, we increase the tolerance of the angles that our brush source from our click. So with that, we can quickly make a selection over the part of the model that represent our grid. So up here and there, I don't extend the selection like this, because I want a small amount of the selection as possible, because if I go too much, we can see that angle goes way more, and we have a selection of those polygons up here that I don't want. We can of course go to the bottom part and with the Alt button reduce the selection, but it's time consuming, so it's not something that I want to use too much. So right now I can see that ZBrush make a quite good selection right away with almost with the most of the polygons. Up here I can see there's some of those that I don't want. So with the lasso tool I can quickly deselect them, add that one, and let's see what else up here and here. Definitely we don't want that plane, because it's a stained glass window. So once again, Alt, drag out, same here. And of course we can use the lasso tool to deselect everything way quicker if you want. Okay, I don't like that part, but I want to keep that one. So we're gonna remove everything from there. And up here, yeah, that small part as well wants to be included. up here, definitely that one more or less, and with the lasso we can make the selection from the side. Actually, we can separate that window quickly to just focus on the part that is interesting for us. And with that, actually, let's remove bottom as well and see. Okay, that part on the right side is not that great, so let's remove it. Okay, that's much better. And now we can try to aim to the correct position of the... Actually, I have 3D mouse, so I can do that way. We're more fluent. Increase the visibility and select everything that is there, like so. Because everything that is selected on white gonna be removed. So we select everything that represents the frame itself, like so, and part of the structure that is on the right and clearly belongs to the building itself. Because when we take a look on those reference pictures, especially that one, we can see that we have some connections here and here, for example, and there, which means that frame is basically flying into the air and is connected with a couple of anchors with the structure. So I believe the best approach would be to just remove geometry itself of the frame as well, and allow the texture to make it looks better and work, because probably those windows gonna be visible from the distance, and it doesn't matter if we remove that small part of the geometry up here of the frame or not. And normally there would be in case when we make a texture projection from the cameras, that difference gonna appear as the blurriness. But considering how big the model itself is, plus distance from the view and many other things, it doesn't matter that much. At least I would consider it as not a big issue as we may thought. In case when we make a texture reprojection from the source data from the source model that is already textured, that's gonna be perfectly fine as well. So right now I just select everything like this. Once again, I just focus on the right side window to save time, because I don't want to record a hour-long video once again. It's just to show you everything that can be useful for that kind of situation. Okay, we have our selection, so we're gonna expand it everywhere. Outside, like this. Okay, it's perfectly fine. From that side, not that much. Actually, we could use the brush tool for that one. And as I said, I'm gonna split that, so hidden and visible. That's our remain of the window. And we split it to the separate subtool. Split hidden. And now when we go to the solo mode, we have our single plane that represents the outside grid. And we can use ZModeler, this time in the edge mode. Let's focus on the single polygon. And we click close holes. For the polygon mode, we do nothing because we are not focusing on that this time. And now when we click edge, and not that one actually, we need to remove those play points unless we connect them with the bridge geometry. Actually, I can show you that right now. So edge, this time we go to bridge, select one edge, second, and now ZBrush make a connection between those two polygons. And that's useful because now when we click close holes, ZBrush gonna connect those like this. So as you can see, we have a very quickly closed geometry that represents our planes windows, and it's still slower than the different approach, but I thought it's gonna be very useful to show it anyway. So we're gonna close the geometry here like this. Actually no, I don't like that that fold up there, so delete it. And up here, edge, close. And very quickly you can see we have our window. We could use the close hole with the that works on the global scale, so it's gonna attempt to close all the holes, but that have two downsides. First one, if the scan is very heavy, it might lead to minutes of processing or even a crash, which is very probably. And we have a model that is to 20 million polygons. Second thing is when we actually, I'm gonna quick save and show you. When you click that button, we close all holes, and then we need to select the planes and click auto group, and then re-click everything that we want to remove. So as you can see, that's gonna be very time consuming, which is something that we don't want. So let's go back to the ZModeler brush and click those holes to close them down. It's very quick, especially when you have a pen back on, for example, in my case, because you can just hover over and click everything very, very quick, like this. So that's the first method. It allows us to create a physical geometry that is integrated with the scan. And second method is more like a work around or using the couple of geometries to fill empty space. So okay, let's say we finish it. Right, so that's our outside part of the model, and same stuff with the inside. We repeat the process with the edge, with the polygon mode, mask, flat island. Select all of that, what we want to keep. Actually, at this point, we should just remove everything except parts that we want to keep. So once again, actually the models are under the angle, so something like this probably. Yes, and the outside part is related to the thickness between those two panels, but I believe we can refine it even more. Mouse, this, remove stuff. Sorry for that. It. Maybe that was slightly too much, but actually I like it. So now we split again, hidden, turn that off, and once again ZModeler brush, you know the drill. The second approach, actually, let's go back to our initial model, delete other. That's just remove everything except the selected model, and let's go back in time to the moment when I adjust the position. So that's gonna be that one. And now let's use the approach with the additional geometry. And I believe that's gonna be even more beneficial for the situation when we have that kind of model, because those stained glass windows are one of the most important part of that kind of scan, and we want to be able to make additional correction in a 2D package like a Photoshop Affinity Photo, plus any kind of recovery in case when there's some kind of missing data, or we want to create extra maps like a emissive map that's gonna emulate light going through those windows to the inside of the model. So if we use the additional geometry like a 2D panel, this is up here. When we merge those two models after unwrapping and keeping them, we can decide how big the pixel density of the panel of those windows is gonna be compared with the other part of the model. And not only we can make that way easier for us to read into the package when you look on the texture itself, and we have awareness where those parts of the model are, but then we can easily make additional manipulation in terms of how big those windows gonna be in texture size, which increase we can decide how big difference and quality those windows are gonna receive. So let's go to the window panel. Actually, I need to go back to the main visibility and 75. Right. I thought my subtools are dim not enough, but I see everything is fine. So let's rotate our panel accordingly. For the first position, I just doing a rough estimation where it should go, because right now I just need to scale everything up and down. And obviously, as you can see, the best approach would be to create the panel, leave amount of the panel big as the window itself, so we can just have a geometry that is related to the window and the grid itself, instead of wasting precious UV space by those flying elements. So in that case, I'm just gonna focus on smart part of the window, just right side of that panel. Position bottom to the correct position. We're gonna create two panels. One is responsible for the outside and one is responsible for the inside. Quick selection in the corner to make the rotation and slightly down to blend it with the geometry like this. And now this additional trick for you, or function of the ZBrush, called adjust last. We see that under this stroke and adjust, and that button takes the last action and current one and allow us to make the smooth transition between those two. So as you can see, I make a rotation, and now with that I can make the precise adjustment, and it's very useful for that kind of situation, because now I can make a rotation of the panel to match top part and make the adjustment very nice and easy. Okay, I can see the panel is not that great aligned with the flying geometry, and up here I need to make creative decision about the bottom part, because right now we can see the panel flying around. If it's only a big distance, it's gonna be fine, but I prefer to not leave any kind of slip through of the geometry, because then there will be an issue with the rendering. So probably I'm just gonna move the small part of that plane inside and make a modification to the geometry outside, because it wasn't recreated correctly and there's a missing part of the frame. So we should make some kind of reconstruction in theory, but in that case I'm just gonna move slightly top up, bottom, to just make sure we don't have that geometry, that plane flying around like here. Okay, so bottom part and top part looks fine, mostly. Obviously on the left side there's still missing information, so we need to make it wider, at least for the we can do that both sides right now, and we're just gonna remove the geometry, additional extra geometry later. So let's see, it looks fine. No, still not. Like this, way better. And question, what we gonna do about that part? Because looks like the model was recreated with some kind of distortion for that part, or the grid itself was bended outside, so those parts flying around above the flat plane. So we can make actually move adjustment for that part to make it align as much as possible with the original geometry. It's not true that part of the model is as it was in the reality, because it's just estimation based on the triangulation of the pictures. So in the same time, reality capture might be slightly wrong about those parts, but it's gonna expect to see a geometry in those places when we make a projection of the texture. So it's worth to adjust the panel itself to match that position as best as possible. We should increase actually the resolution of that panel to make those changes as much locally as possible, because again we're gonna make a projection of the texture, so any kind of difference between our model imported to reality capture and the source data gonna appear as the blurred texture, which is not ideal. So as we can see right now, we have our panel slightly off with those elements where the frame is, but that's perfectly fine. Right, I want to go back to the model. Or we can just decide to leave some part of the geometry itself and remove everything else. So we're gonna have that frame here, for example. Okay, now when we have our panel, we need to remove any kind of excess, the geometry. And as you can see, our panel right now have a 65,000 polygons, which is fine because right now we can make a more or less good selection. But in that case, I want to use something called slice tool, I believe. Yes, slice curve. And we go back to lasso mode. And with that, we create a path where Zbrush gonna make a clean cut. It's not perfect with in terms of the polygroups, but you can see those polygons are sliced exactly in the place when I want that. So when we go back to our models and go click transparency ghost mode, I set up the transparency of the other models in a way that allows me to see everything very nice, and make those actions. So with that said, we're gonna remove everything that goes besides of that part of the model. So I'm going slightly close, well, I'm going close to the frame of the window, like this. And now we have our selection up here. It's not obviously exact as I wish for, but it's still something that is very easy to select with the selection tool. So quickly I just gonna remove excess stuff. If it happens that I miss one polygon like this one, nothing happened because that's so small. That doesn't matter at all. Something like this. Obviously we can click remove the poly group, but in that case it's not gonna be as precise as I wish, and I still need to go through all those parts. But if we don't care that much about the couple more polygons, for example, because we're gonna decimate it, it's perfectly fine to do that as well. So let's say it's more or less fine. Delete hidden. And now we can go and unwrap it, everything. Actually, we need to connect those by merging them. Let's say that our geometry, actually no, let's now go back to, did I remove it? Oh my god. Okay, I thought I removed it, but no, that was, I didn't, I thought it was somewhere else. So before of that, actually we can duplicate it, rotate it by 180 degrees, and place it in the position of the inside part of the window. So we have basically two in place of one. Actually, let's go back with that part. No, that's fine. So once again, we're gonna place everything with the slider. This time we don't need to deal with the frame, so we're gonna place our plane in a way that it matches basically with all those elements. Actually no, I see there's some kind of structure. So let's go back to our reference picture and see how the things looks. Okay, I see. Those were separate panels. So it should be still fine. Okay, some rotation. Adjust last one. Like this. I'm not sure about those, but if we go too far away, our geometry gonna be even more blurred. So we need to find a position that is very close to healthy medium. So I believe something like this. And once again, we're gonna use that with the move brush. Nothing drastic, just in couple places. Okay, and now we can integrate it with our model, or we can remove those flank points. It's up to us, I would say. But of course, because we deal with the outside and inside, we need to deal with way more, because we gonna remove part from the outside and inside at once. Because our window looks like this, right? So I would prefer to just remove everything, actually. Let's make a selection with the lasso. At least remove things that are not usable at all. those frames up here. And definitely that part. Stay with us. Okay. Solo mode. And we can invert the selection. And we make the negative. And same with the outside part of the model. Like so. That looks fine. And hidden points. And let's see how it looks with our panels. Okay, that looks fine. I see I make disappear that part of the model. So let's invert it. And now it looks fine. So we're gonna remove basically all that geometry, and we keep our part of the model that we want to keep. So part of the frame on the top, bottom, and inside those pieces of the geometry that are gonna be projected correctly from the pictures. So let's see if that panel. I see I remove a lot of here. Oh yeah, that's my mistake. So quickly, let's use that with our panel. You can see geometry goes like under the water, so we can make that color selection. On the left side looks fine. Last inspection before we delete that geometry. Looks fine for me. There's no light leakage possible, except here. Okay. And we can split it. Split hidden. And now our panels, let's match them down with keep UVs. Subtool right, because we did not delete excess of the geometry. So once again, match down. We can go and quickly check how the UVs looks like. In my case, I'm gonna use Rhizome UV. Okay, that's our windows, and because it was a duplicated geometry, it appeared in one panel appear on the above the other. But in that case, we want to just reload actually without the geometry, without the UVs, and we just want to unwrap them. And now we can pack them. And at this stage, we can make the initial position. but because we're gonna merge it with the geometry of the photogrammetry model, I would expect that we want to set up a text a text density slightly bigger, maybe 2 times compared with others. So let's place them outside of the UV01, save it, go back, re-import the new UVs, and go to our model. And let's make a duplication just in case of some kind of disaster, and quick save once again. And I am aware that that model doesn't have any kind of UVs, so at this moment I'm gonna just make a quick dirty UVs outside of the recording. Okay, and now we can merge those two separate geometries. Actually, we can copy the newly created UVs on that model over our backup, because why not? And now we can merge down with keep UVs. Now when we send it back to Rhizome UV once again, we can make a decision how big those stained glass windows gonna be in texture. It's gonna take a moment because it's still above the 1,000,000 polygons for the UV software. And now we can select the part of the main geometry and see, actually let's set up 2 meters, that the initial texture density is 21. So if we scale those windows to the same, we can see they are very small. So I would say I want that those windows to be twice big in terms of the quality compared with the other part of the model. So multiply by 2 and expand it. And now we can place everything and pack. So Rhizome UV gonna place those as tight as possible. Actually no, wrong button, because it's gonna scale those windows down. We gonna place them isolate, no, visible. We're gonna move the whole content of the building outside of the UV grid, and we're gonna select our windows and place them without any kind of change to the scale. Back. And now we can lock them. So padlock, and now we can pack everything as best as possible. So with that, our windows have a twice much texture quality compared with the rest of the building, which I think is very important in that case. It's not mandatory at that stage, but it's something that I would do, especially if the client says that windows are very important for them. But otherwise it's just an optional approach and nothing mandatory. To save time, we can just merge those two and just click pack, and then Rhizome UV in that case gonna make everything for us. So I can see that 7 and 8 packing iteration doesn't change anything, so we can cancel that and basically save our model and export it back to the reality capture, for example. So it's saved, so re-import it, get from Rhizome UV. And at this stage we still have a polygroup, so we can easily select our model and just in case split it or something like that, make additional changes. But in that case I just gonna click, actually I don't see my targets to be saved, so 1 minute. Okay, I just click copy stager from the different model, and now when we click it, switch stage, we're going back to the original position, and we can see with the copy of the initial model that everything sits as it should in the correct position. So at this moment we can export it back to the Ready Capture and make a texture projection or reprojection from the source data. I think that's gonna be all. The stager, the ZModeler brush, selection, masking. There's a lot of things that you can use, we can use when we working in ZBrush. There's always a couple of methods to reach the same destination with different paths, different tools, different methods. Those that I showed you today are just optional. If you work with ZBrush, probably you're gonna find your own way around some kind of issues. That software have their own bugs, and we need to find out about those things by ourselves, because everything depends. Some models are gonna be fine to click close holes and that's it. Some are gonna be fine with the automatic creation of the polygroups, and some models don't. It's a very complex software, but it's always worth to learn it, because we can work with the even a source photogrammetry data that is above the 100 million polygons. It's not gonna be easy, but it's gonna be possible to open that model and work with it. So as you can see, it's a very integral part of the photogrammetry workflow to work with ZBrush. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Blender and other softwares catch up in that regard. Moodbox, for example, as far as 3D Code actually is a very good alternative for ZBrush, but done more competition, done better. So yeah, good luck with your models, and if you have a different topic or example models that you want to see me working over the video, and maybe in the future live stream with the live questions, let me know in the comment section, and see you next time.